I love it. I love it. I love it. Look at this. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Hey, I'm not surprised.
Hey, what's poppin', my bros, my homies? Hope you guys are doing well, doing blessed. UFC Fight Night, RDA versus Luque. And before we get into making predictions, here's my bets from last weekend and also my Contender Series bets from last night. On the Sandhagen font card, I ended up losing 0.06 of a unit, so I lost £6. So basically broke even on the wrong side. My Harris underdog play cashed really late after looking bad for 10 minutes. My straight bet on Diego Lopez cashed in round 1 as predicted, and my bet on Almabayev looked really good. Let's wrestle, kid. Let's wrestle. Let's wrestle. However, my parlay on Ignacio and Corey got dusted. Had a really small bet on Jessica Andrade. That got dusted, and Jake Hadley was my biggest bet, which really hurt, to be honest. Like, only losing £6 after losing the biggest bet. Man, how does Cody Durden survive the armbar? How does he do that? So we ended up losing just £6, but when we look at the Contender Series, we hit a 94% return on investment with -120 and +105 bets on Talbot and Tom Nolan. And I'm really looking forward to seeing both those guys in the UFC. Really good performances. Now, as always guys, if you want my bets on this UFC card, the only way to do that is to join my Patreon. Also be sure to join the Discord group. Now moving into the promised land of Money City. As always guys, if you see your name on the screen, that's money, pure money. Let's go. Always spark the blunt for their champions. Let's go. Let's do it again. We do this on the regular. Let's do it again. Let's go. Alright, moving into the first matchup on this card, we've got Juliana Miller taking on Luana Santos. Now to begin this breakdown, we need to assess the level of this matchup, which does appear to be quite a low level matchup. Looking at Juliana Miller, her striking is quite basic and requires significant improvement. And this was evident in her last matchup against Veronica Hardy. On the flip side, the newcomer, Luana Santos, she possesses a black belt in judo. So expect for Luana Santos to utilise her judo skills, you know, look to execute some nice throws to get Juliana Miller to the mat. And I also think that Luana Santos possesses technically superior striking to Juliana Miller. But this one should be a grappling contest. And both these girls kind of have pillow fists. You know, there's not a lot of damage on the feet from Juliana Miller, and same with Santos. So yeah, this matchup is likely to be a grappling contest, and personally I wouldn't advise placing bets on either Miller or Santos. But if I had to choose, and I do have to choose, I'm going to lean towards the underdog, Juliana Miller, to potentially out-grapple Luana Santos. And I know some people might be taking Luana Santos to out-grapple Juliana Miller, but it's a low-level matchup. You know, so if Miller takes the back or can find the mount, I wouldn't be shocked. I just think with a low-level matchup, take the underdog. So yeah, that's my pick. Alright, moving into a matchup between Blackshear taking on Jose Johnson, and this is going to be a short notice matchup. Jose Johnson does have the potential to be a good fighter if he could just address one glaring weakness, and that's his takedown defense, which is currently as ineffective as that of a newborn baby giraffe. You know, really poor defensive wrestling. Now on the flip side, Blackshear has solid grappling abilities. You know, his wrestling's good, his jiu-jitsu's good, and that's going to cause problems for Jose Johnson. However guys, it is worth knowing that Blackshear struggled with fatigue later in his fight against Youssef Salal. He did rebound with an impressive performance, securing a stoppage on the mat against Luan Lacerda. He also had a tough matchup against Farid Basharat, who posed difficulties with his footwork and his speed. Now considering that Jose Johnson's potential is hindered by his inability to defend takedowns, this could be a really difficult matchup. But guys, like I said, if Jose Johnson could just fix that one weakness, he could really be a good fighter because he's 6 foot at bantamweight. Now my prediction for this matchup, I'm going to side with Jose Johnson. I've not seen a betting line, but he should be an underdog. because the Blackshear's grappling is way better than Johnson's. So yeah, my prediction is going to be Jose Johnson. Like I said, I've not seen a betting line, but I would expect him to be plus money. That's going to be my pick. Alright, moving into a matchup between Montserrat Ruiz taking on Jaqueline Amorim. And in this matchup, we essentially have a battle of grapplers. Montserrat Ruiz is a grappler that kinda likes to use the scarf hold throw, whereas Amorim is a much better grappler, much more proficient. Amorim is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, while Ruiz is a black belt when it comes to employing the scarf hold throw, a technique that proved successful multiple times against Cheyenne Vlismus. And this was the main reason why I bet Corey McKenna as a plus money underdog against Cheyenne Vlismus. However guys, if Montserrat Ruiz tries to get Amorim to the mat with the scarf hold throw, she may find herself in quite a vulnerable position. Amorim could capitalise by taking the back of Montserrat, finding a rear naked choke. You know, if this matchup goes to the mat, the Jiu-Jitsu black belt is expected to find a stoppage. And that's a similar expectation that was set for Amorim against Sam Hughes in her UFC debut. Amorim came very close to securing a round 1 submission, but Sam Hughes, she's a dog. She survived. And Amorim's performance dipped significantly outside of round 1, where she got really tired. Now this time round, I do anticipate the same thing. I think Amorim should find a submission, given the fact that Montserrat is inclined to grappling. You know, she wants to grapple. So we're likely to witness an engaging grappling contest where it really shouldn't be a contest. So give me the Jiu-Jitsu black belt Amorim to find a submission, to find a stoppage. Oh my goodness, we've got Josh Parisian taking on Martin Buday. Oh my goodness. So Josh Parisian's skill level is extremely low level, and I fail to see how he poses significant challenges for Martin Buday. Now that doesn't mean I believe Martin Buday is an exceptional fighter or he's destined to become world champion, but when you compare Martin Buday to Josh Parisian, it's almost like they're half brothers due to their low level skills and genuinely underwhelming performances. Martin Buday does appear to have solid clinch control, you know, push you against the fence and do some work. However, beyond that, you know, what has Martin Buday really got? His boxing's not super good, his kicking's not super good, his output's kinda low. In my opinion, this is a poor quality matchup. I did bet against Josh Parisian when he fought Jamal Pogues, and I've also bet Martin Buday in a couple matchups. You know, this type of matchup kinda makes me want to take a week off, I'm not gonna lie. It's a low level matchup. Give me Martin Buday to get his half brother Josh Parisian cut from the UFC, that's my pick. Alright, moving into a matchup between Francis Fire Marshall taking on Isaac Dulgarian, and this is a difficult prediction to make. Francis Marshall has so far displayed really decent boxing. He completely dusted Rojo in his UFC debut, then ran into some trouble against William Gomis, who's able to cause problems with his kicks. However, this time round, Marshall will be competing against a wrestler, not a kicker. Now Isaac Dulgarian has completely dusted all of his opponents this far. His takedowns are really strong, his ground game is super strong, and he's been dominating all of his opponents on the mat. However guys, Isaac Dulgarian hasn't been outside of round 1, and that is a bit of an issue when it comes to betting on fighters to win, because I need as much information as I could possibly get when betting on fighters, and the fact that Isaac hasn't been outside of round 1, that kind of keeps me away from betting on Dulgarian. But like I said, Dulgarian has dusted all of his opponents. His takedowns are good. His ground game's good. I think Francis Marshall is also very good. You know, very early in his mixed martial arts career. Still learning, still getting better. He's a sharp boxer. I'm going to be siding with Francis Marshall, but like I said, this is a prospects fight and it's a difficult bet. Alright, moving into a matchup between Terrance McKinney taking on Mike Breeden. Now guys, Terrance McKinney is a fighter who's extremely dangerous in round 1. He embodies a kill or be killed mentality. If his opponent can weather the initial McKinney storm, there's a high likelihood that they'll go on to beat Terrance McKinney. However, if the opponent can't survive McKinney's early aggression, they're going to make McKinney seem like a potential future world champion. Now personally, I don't share the belief that McKinney is destined to be a world champion. I don't believe that. but I do consider him a dominant force early in the matchup, but also a vulnerable one outside of round 1. Guys, I do believe McKinney's likely to win this matchup. He's likely to bounce back from those 2 losses that he's got against Bonfim and Sadikov. And I bet both Bonfim and Sadikov. But Mike Breeden is not on the same level as Sadikov or Bonfim or even Drew Dober. So I think McKinney round 1 stoppage or even a round 2 stoppage is kind of likely. You know, when you compare both McKinney and Mike Breeden, it doesn't appear to me that Mike Breeden deserves to be in the UFC. And some people may say, well, the same goes for McKinney. But McKinney's actually consistently entered fights with excitement, delivered impactful stoppages, and demonstrating like entertainment, win or lose. On the flip side, what does Mike Breeden bring to the table? You know, after reviewing his tape, I can confidently say he's not good enough to be in the UFC. Now, if he goes in there and beats Terrance McKinney, he's proven me wrong. But my pick will be Terrance McKinney by complete dusteration in round number 1. Alright, moving into a matchup between Marcus McGhee taking on JP Buys. And I was just discussing Mike Breeden's lack of ability to be in the UFC. And if I'm critiquing Mike, I can't overlook JP Buys. Unfortunately, JP Buys does fall short of the UFC standards, in my opinion. After reviewing his recent fights, it becomes evident that his chin is super dusty. A solid punch often results in a knockdown or even a stoppage. On the flip side, Marcus McGhee showcased his power, speed, technique, and also his physical strength in his UFC debut against Journey Newson. His debut was impressive, resulting in a nice win, and even as an underdog. In all fairness, guys, McGhee's current opponent likely presents an easier challenge than his initial UFC debut. Like, who's better, Journey Newson or JP Buys? I know MMA math doesn't work, but surely it works here. If McGhee's good enough to beat Newson, he can absolutely dust JP Buys. So that will be my prediction. I'm going to side with Marcus McGhee. If you wait to smoke with me, amen. If you've been smoking this whole time, double amen. If you're not a smoker but you enjoy the smoke breaks, that's always been a triple amen, gang. Let's go. Guys, just how good was the Contender Series last night? Oh my goodness. You don't realise how sick Tuesday night fights are until you get Tuesday night fights. And for 10 weeks, we've got banging Contender Series matchups. And if you're someone that missed the first episode, you've got to watch it. Peyton Talbot. Wow, this dude's exciting. This dude is like a hybrid of Sean O'Malley and Nate Diaz. So entertaining to watch. Unbelievable. Tom Nolan. This dude is going to have many great fights in the UFC, no doubt. Even the big underdog. You love to see it. His striking was so crisp. Rip into the body. Dig into the body. My goodness. Alright guys, let's go. Alright, moving into a matchup between Josh Fremd taking on Jamie Pickett. What is this matchup? Like, can someone let me know what this matchup is? Is this matchup some type of sick joke? Really, Jamie Pickett versus Josh Fremd. You know, just when you thought you've seen low-level matchups, the UFC makes a matchup between Jamie Pickett and Josh Fremd. Now, personally, guys, I'm not going to be betting on Josh Fremd versus Jamie Pickett. Same as last week with Tanner Boser and Alexa Kamer. There's more chance that I would identify as a toaster than ever betting on this matchup. But if you're somebody that's got to make a bet, the only bet to make, in my opinion, would be Jamie Pickett. And that's not because Jamie Pickett's better. It's simply because who in their right mind would bet Josh Fremd at minus 350? You know, minus 350 is implying he's got a 78% chance. Josh Fremd is not minus 350 against anybody. So if we're making bets just based on who we're picking to win, then I would bet on Josh Fremd. But if we're making bets based on value and not making like silly bets, like Josh Fremd at minus 350, then this is like a dog or pass. And that's not to say Jamie Pickett's going to win. It's not to say he's good. It's just to say Josh Fremd at minus 350, no bueno. But I'm going to side with Josh Fremd. He got takedowns against SD Dumas and Jamie Pickett's really bad. But like I said, Josh Fremd at minus 350, horrible. Alright, moving into a matchup between Tafon and Nchukwi taking on AJ Dobson. Now guys, I'm going to start this breakdown by saying Tafon and Nchukwi has suffered significant defeats in his last 2 matchups against Carlos Solberg and Azamat Mirzakhanov. They connected him to the Shadow City server. dusted. Also, I'm going to mention that Tafon Nchukwi kind of struggles with the wrestling, and he's also got a muscular build that demands substantial oxygen, which can prove to be a disadvantage in a matchup, in a fight, and that mainly happens when you get tired. On the flip side, AJ Dobson is primarily a wrestler, and he is 0-2 in UFC, but despite being 0-2, he's not that bad, and he does tend to fatigue pretty quickly. And that's also a trait that Tafon Nchukwi shares. Both of these guys, their cardio is pretty bad. Now guys, I've not picked many underdogs yet, so I am going to side with an underdog. I'm going to side with AJ Dobson to use his wrestling to win this matchup. But like I said, both these guys do get tired. You know, who's improved? Who's improved from their losses? And who's going to fight their fight? That's really what we're going to see this weekend with this matchup. But yeah, I'm going to side with the underdog, AJ Dobson. Alright, moving into a matchup between Polyana Viana taking on Yasmin Lucindo. Two Brazilians facing off just like the main event. And this could potentially be an interesting matchup. Viana possesses advanced jiu-jitsu skills, although she didn't showcase that in her last matchup. Instead, she demonstrated the ability to swiftly close the distance with a flurry of punches, which led to Jinyu Fry experiencing a brief meeting with her creator. On the flip side, Yasmin Lucindo's already provided entertaining performances. Her UFC debut fight against Yasmin Haragi was really entertaining, with intense kickboxing exchanges where she held her ground. Lucindo will likely prefer to strike against Viana as opposed to engaging with the jiu-jitsu on the mat, and I know Viana secured a nasty stoppage in her last matchup on the feet, but replicating that performance against Lucindo kinda seems unlikely. However, if Viana could potentially grapple with Lucindo, she could find an armbar or even a triangle choke. But outside of a stoppage with her grappling, I don't really see Viana doing too much against Lucindo. So my prediction is going to be Lucindo to win this matchup. But like I said, she's got to watch out for the jiu-jitsu of Polyana Viana. Alright, moving into a matchup between Khalil Rountree taking on Chris Daukaus. Now guys, it's evident to me that these fighters' career paths are heading in distinct directions. Khalil Rountree has displayed impressive performances in the octagon in his most recent fights, showcasing his nasty and impactful calf kicks as well as his knockout power. His win against Jacoby, I disagree with the scorecards. However, his determination and the significant punches he landed towards the end of the rounds in that matchup do deserve recognition. On the flip side, the outlook for Chris Daukaus appears to be bad. His recent performances against Derek Lewis, Curtis Blades and Jairzinho Rozenstruik ended with him going to Shadow City. I think this is probably make or break for Chris Daukaus. And Khalil Rountree also faced the make or break test a couple years ago. But he did pass the test. You know, he showed improvements in his game, specifically the Muay Thai kicks. But guys, has Chris Daukaus shown improvements? Will Chris Daukaus show improvements? He's a boxer and that's it. And his chin's also dusty. So I'm going to side with Khalil Rountree. I don't trust Chris Daukaus. Alright, moving into the co-main event, we've got Cub Swanson taking on Hakeem Dawodu. And this co-main event is a good co-main event. It's going to be a good matchup. Now guys, Cub Swanson undoubtedly requires no informal introduction. He's a legend and veteran of the game, having seen it all in his UFC career, his mixed martial arts career. There's really nothing you can teach Cub Swanson at this stage in the game. He's nearly 40 years old. However guys, after analysing his most recent performances, it becomes clear to me that the opponents that have beat Cub Swanson recently have been incredibly skilled kickers. For example, Chikadze and Dragon Martinez are really good kickers. But then you look at his wins against Darren Elkins, who's essentially a walking punch bag, and also Daniel Pineda, who's dangerous early in the matchup but has really bad cardio. It's clear both of those fighters aren't incredible kickers like Chikadze and Dragon Martinez. Now switching our focus to the opponent, Hakeem Dawodu, a Muay Thai striker that absolutely possesses nasty Muay Thai kicks. Now guys, given that Swanson has encountered difficulty dealing with the skilled kickers at nearly 4 years of age, it's probably fair to anticipate Hakeem Dawodu's kicks inflicting a good amount of damage in this matchup, potentially. All depending on the striking game plan of Hakeem Dawodu, which in my opinion, as I said, it's clear to me that Cub isn't dealing with the kicks of his opponents too well, so imposing that on Cub Swanson would be a good idea. But yeah, this co-main event is going to be a great co-main event. I'm not going to side with 40-year-old Cub Swanson. My prediction will be the Muay Thai striker Hakeem to win this co-main event. Alright, moving into the main event, we've got RDA taking on Vicente Luque, and this matchup promises to be an absolute banger. A Brazilian versus Brazilian showdown, and credit is due to both these fighters for the impressive skills they've showcased throughout their UFC careers. The impressive moments both of these fighters have had. Now undoubtedly RDA stands as a legend and seasoned veteran of the game. He's a skilled grappler with a jiu-jitsu black belt, possesses the endurance to fight over 25 minutes, and although he's 38 years old and past his prime, it's undeniable that he's still competing at a remarkably high level. RDA's welterweight journey has seen successful grappling encounters against Neil Magny, Kevin Lee, Moicano and Barberena, and there was also times where RDA was also out grappled, like against Leon Edwards, Colby and Usman, but we didn't expect RDA to do well with his grappling in those matchups. Now guys, on the flip side, Vicente Luque truly personifies the term assassin. He embodies violence and is a genuine Brazilian warrior who will fearlessly exchange fight-ending strikes with just about anybody. However, it's evident that Luque has endured a significant amount of damage. His fight history reveals numerous wars and considerable wear and tear. And some of you may not be aware, but Vicente Luque took a break due to brain bleed. And I'm not a medical professional, but a brain that's bleeding doesn't sound any better than Ashley Evans Smith undergoing spinal surgery. You know, having a bleeding brain, it does raise concerns. However guys, Vicente Luque is back, prepared to engage in absolute chaos, absolute violence. He does tend to focus heavily on the kill shot, you know, prioritizing fight-ending moments, which sometimes compromises his output and leaves him open to the opponent's strikes. And his lack of head movement is essentially the reason why his brain has been bleeding. Now guys, I did side with Belal Muhammad at plus money against Luque in the main event, just because Belal's got that style and that fight IQ that suits a 25-minute matchup, where Luque's style doesn't exactly suit a 25-minute fight. Obviously I'm not as high on RDA at this point in his UFC career as I am on Belal Muhammad, but I still think RDA's style and overall ability does suit a 25-minute matchup more so than Luque. And I also think if this matchup somehow sees those championship rounds, I would expect Luque to be pretty tired. And RDA maybe gets the better of the grappling, could potentially find a late stoppage, or even win those later rounds, which help him win on the scorecards. And of course, Luque TKO is always live. It's always live. So be sure to check that prop. But on this main event, for me, I'm going to side with the veteran, the legend, RDA to win this main event. As always guys, be sure to drop down your MoneyCity plays, your main event, your co-main event, your parlay, straight bets, all of that good stuff. Drop it in the comment section below. And as always, enjoy this card. Keep your eyes to the sky, never glued to your shoes. Peace.